We're going to bring the globalists down together, my friends. Okay, we have massive breaking news. This is going to go into the next hour with Roger Stone. I saw him texting me frantically earlier, and then Nico ran in during the break, and he said, have you seen this? We have the clip from C-SPAN. I saw Comey during the break on national news, the FBI director, was being grilled over the fact by Republicans that they never intended to go after Hillary. They gave them all immunity. It was all staged. Representative Nadler asked the FBI about something I was told about 3 weeks ago by Roger Stone. We're getting on the line right now. And then I had already been contacted by some Pentagon sources and others saying, listen, you've got the Justice Department looking at you. And I said, for what? And they were like, threats to Hillary and Russia. Now, I know my phones are tapped too because a lot of weird stuff's been going on. And, I mean, I have no connection to Russia other than the fact that Russia doesn't want to be in the New World Order, neither do I. I mean, it's just crazy. Okay, it's crazy. There's a lot more I don't want to get into here, obviously. The leaks we've gotten are from, like, the Secret Service and stuff. But I told you, this is dangerous what we're doing, okay? We're not playing tiddlywinks. That's why we need your prayers. We need your support. InfoWarsLife.com. We have the new super probiotic, Biome Defense everybody needs. A lot of other great products, books, videos, water filters, non-GMO seeds, air filters. This is, I mean, the best products. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, 888-253-3139. They just shut down Michael Savage. We're going to play his last two interviews with us or clips of it the next hour with David Knight. But we're going to play a clip going out to break and then come back with Roger Stone. Some stations don't carry the fourth hour. A lot do. InfoWars.com/show. But this is from Media Matters, which is the White House. You've got David Brock connected to all this embezzlement and, you know, taking money and going around the 501c3 and all the rest of it. That's okay. But then the fact that Roger Stone, they're trying to claim works for the Russians, and by extension that we're being looked at for working for the Russians, just shows how crazy this has gotten. So let's play 2 minutes of this exchange, come back to Roger Stone here in just a moment that we just got on the line. This just happened about 30 minutes ago. Here it is.
Questions about that. In his earlier remarks, Mr. Conyers referenced an August 30th letter from the ranking members of a number of House committees. That letter asked whether the FBI was investigating troubling connections between Trump campaign officials and Russian interests, and whether they contributed to the illegal hacking of the Democratic National Committee and the Democratic National Campaign Committee. You're familiar with that letter, I take it?
Yes, I'm familiar with the letter.
I'd like to ask you a few questions. The letter said this, and I quote, on August 8th, 2016, Roger Stone, a Donald Trump confidant, revealed that he has communicated with WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange about the upcoming release of additional illegally hacked Democratic documents. Mr. Stone made these statements during a Republican campaign event while answering a question about a potential October surprise. Obviously, if someone is stating publicly that he is in direct communication with the organization that obtained these illegally hacked documents, I assume the FBI would want to talk to that person. Has the FBI interviewed Roger Stone about his communications with Julian Assange or his knowledge of how WikiLeaks got these illegally obtained documents?
I can't comment on that.
Mr. Stone stated that he has knowledge about upcoming leaks of additional illegally hacked documents. Has the FBI asked him about those communications?
I also can't comment on that.
Because it's an ongoing investigation?
I don't want to confirm whether there is or is not an investigation. That's the way I answered Mr. Conyers' questions as well.
Director Comey, the FBI acknowledged in public statements and testimony that it was investigating Secretary Clinton's use of a private email server, and that was while the investigation was still ongoing. Now you can't comment on whether there's an investigation. Is there a different standard for Secretary Clinton and Donald Trump? If not, what is the consistent standard?
No, our standard is we do not confirm or deny the existence of investigations. There's an exception for that when there is a need for the public to be reassured. Obviously, it's apparent given our activities, public activities, that the investigation is ongoing, but our overwhelming rule is we do not comment except in certain.
All right, that's enough. We're going to go to break and come back with Roger Stone in 70 seconds. And again, it's one thing to be told about this, other thing to actually see it happening. They're trying to claim Trump is a Russian agent, ladies and gentlemen. And you've seen them on national news say that I'm a Russian agent with Trump and what's the other guy? Vladimir Putin. Well, if you just joined us, we've started the fourth hour here. I was going to air large excerpts of the last two interviews with former CBS talk show host, I guess, Michael Savage, who got taken off the air in New York and then nationwide when he complained Monday for talking about Hillary's health problems and the fact that WikiLeaks said she had Parkinson's. medication. But now we have global government forming, globalists running our nation. And then if we want nationalism like the Brexit, like the UK does, we're Russian agents. And they've even said Farage is a Russian agent. So if the EU doesn't want to, be kicked out of England, they just come and say you're a Russian agent. Same thing with the globalists here in America. We've been occupied by this. Roger Stone, this is getting crazy, especially when you and others privately told me that the Justice Department was poking around, claiming that we're Russian agents. I was then told this by two different sources. Separately, they said, man, the Democrats are sending letters to the Justice Department, and they're concurring and sending it to the FBI and others to investigate you for basically insurrection and working for the Russians. Now, I was told this last week by a source and another source this week, and these are good sources. So this has reached a level of authoritarianism that is over the top. There is no doubt if Hillary gets in, she's coming after us. I mean, this is ridiculous. What do you say to the charge of we're working for the Ruskies?
Well, this would be laughable if it wasn't so outrageous. This is the new McCarthyism. I mean, Congressman Jerry Nadler is a pathetic hack and a shill for Hillary Clinton, willing to overlook all of her illegal activities to try to launch a witch hunt to non-existent activities. I have no connections to the Russians. I don't work for the Russians. I'm not in touch with the Russians. I am not compensated by the Russians. My loyalty is to the United States of America. If the FBI would like to investigate my ties to WikiLeaks or the Russians, they're welcome to do so. They'll find nothing untoward or illegal. I have, as I've said on this program many times, had a back-channel communications with Assange through an intermediary simply for the purpose of gleaning information as to what he may or may not have.
And by the way, you got hacked, your bank, everything because of that.
Yes, but I didn't hear from the FBI when I got hacked or when they destroyed my contacts or destroyed other investigative documents I was working on or invaded my bank account where there were actual thefts of thousands of dollars in illegal transfers. The FBI didn't seem to be too concerned about that. On August 21st, a bunch of Democratic hacks co-signed a letter to Comey demanding that I be investigated. These are intimidation tactics that will not work.
And let me ask you this question. I mean, obviously, we brought this up privately, but just in a vague way that we were both under investigation. I've been told this, too, before this even came out. And I'm just sitting here. I'm not even upset about it. It's so ridiculous that I'm a Russian spy. I mean, give me a break.
Well, as Nietzsche said, that which does not kill me makes me stronger. Alex, every time they attack you, and Hillary Clinton attacked you by name in a speech, which I'm jealous about, I got to be honest, they're only boosting your viewership, which I think has probably tripled in the last couple of weeks. Every time they attack you, they just underline the fact that you're a truth teller. And every time they attack me and want...
I agree, but I mean, it's like...
effective in bringing down the globalists.
I agree. Let's come back.
It's a badge of honor.
Let's come back and play a short clip of this and then talk about what this means 40 days until the election. What are the other dirty tricks they're going to play? And I guess it's just a form of intimidation. It's like, we're investigating you in that picture. We're investigating what you did here. We're watching you. And it's just like, I know you're watching me. All I want to do is get our country back. Can you people just stop being such criminals and following this collapsing witch's orders? Because we're not going to stop. So whatever you're going to do, fill your damn hand. We'll be back. Only 40 days left. I'm your host, Alex Jones. This is the InfoWar. I got so much to talk about in the short segment with Roger Stone. Just an hour or so ago, this was the FBI director. It's a big national news story coming up in papers everywhere, and they've got it with headlines. Roger Stone, WikiLeaks, Russian agent. And again, I've been getting the calls, people saying, man, people are going around asking if you're planning an overthrow of the country with the Russians. I mean, they're really trying to sell this crazy idea. And this just shows these are globalists selling our country out, and they're saying we've sold out to the Russians because Russia's one nationalist country, like the UK, fighting back against this takeover. I'm not a British agent either. I don't want globalism running me. Yes, okay? Here's a clip.
2016, Roger Stone, a Donald Trump confidant, revealed that he has communicated with WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange about the upcoming release of additional illegally hacked Democratic documents. Mr. Stone made these statements during a Republican campaign event while answering a question about a potential October surprise.
That's what journalists do.
Obviously, if someone is stating publicly that he is in direct communication with the organization that obtained these illegally hacked documents, I assume the FBI would want to talk to that person. Has the FBI interviewed Roger Stone about his communications with Julian Assange or his knowledge of how WikiLeaks
that's
got
enough.
these illegally
And it goes on and on, and then the director says he won't answer it because there's an ongoing investigation. Roger, you've been public. You're a journalist. You run StoneColdTruth.com. You're a best-selling author. You said through an intermediary, you're trying to check info you got on Hillary with Assange. You've always been out in the open. We've contacted and talked to Assange before. We've talked to, you know, Nigel Farage, you name it. This is crazy. I mean, I have NSA whistleblowers on. I mean, I'm going to be investigated because I'm a journalist? Go ahead.
Yeah, it has a Kafkaesque quality to it, but here's what I would say to Congressman Nadler, as Alger Hiss said to Richard Nixon when he was in Congress. Jerry, say it outside the immunity of your congressional office, and I will sue your fat ass so fast your head will spin. Go ahead. Accuse me of treason. Let's fight it out in a federal courtroom instead of hiding behind your congressional immunity. This is an absurdity. And we now have a political FBI and a political CIA that have been entirely politicized and now seem to be extensions of the Clinton campaign. It's insulting if it weren't so ridiculously absurd.
Roger, did you get, like her chief of staff, or she did, $35 million from the Russian government to sign over concessions to 1/5 of U.S. uranium when you were Secretary of State?
That's the real irony here. The only one who's actually in touch with Putin, the only one who's done errands for the clique around him are the Clintons, who, as you've just pointed out, took millions in order to assign the uranium concession, 70% of our production, to a Russian conglomerate that is controlled by the Kremlin.
And by the way, I don't want to give mainstream media credit, but in the last 6 months or so, there's been a bunch of articles, even in the Wall Street Journal, even in the Associated Press, admitting that investigations showed massive Hillary connections to the Russians, which is their interest. That's what they're doing. I'm not saying we shouldn't be tougher on them. I mean, you know, they're like the Chinese, you know, going to these traders and, you know, selling us out. But it's not Trump, it's Hillary. And WikiLeaks says, we've got the documents. No Russian connection to Trump. Zero.
And no Russian connection to WikiLeaks for that. That's the other canard here. Julian Assange is not working for the Russians or the Chinese or the Americans. He's working for himself. He's working against the deep state, which is why I think he's a hero.
He is a hero.
A truth teller.
There's no doubt he's a hero. He has gone through hell. Okay.
And right now they have these trumped-up charges of sexual assault against him, which is completely fraudulent. And now before the Swedish Supreme Court, it's merely an attempt to silence him. It's so ridiculously obvious. Look, Alex, I think they're particularly upset because my book, The Clintons' War on Women's, out in paperback this week. It is selling gangbusters. It is now affordable to send to women. I'm going to send PDF versions to women voters in key states by email. This is driving them insane, but they need to read the First Amendment, and then when they're finished, they need to reread it.
Well, that's the truth. They have a big raging hard-on for you because they know your talking points are reality-based, the opposite of a dirty trick, and that Trump's listening, the world's listening, and most of what Trump has scored giant points on, quite frankly, came right from Roger Stone. I'm very proud some of it came from me. Obviously, Trump researched and resonated with it. He's his own man. But let's just say it. They figured out where the real points are getting scored against him, and they're pissed.
Yeah, I think that's essentially true. And let's be clear. We're not even close to finished yet. Don't try to call this race 40 days out. There are some very large events happening that are going to expose Hillary Clinton and her husband, and this race is far from over. Now what we have is this giant groupthink going on in the mainstream media. I watched the debate, and then I read today's New York Times. It's obvious to me that they must have watched a different debate.
Trump won every poll but CNN. And I would say he won it moderately. It blew up in their face that it was so rigged, so he ended up winning bigger. But
well, and can she debate at all without an earpiece? Because that's my question.
She clearly had it. So did Holt. We've confirmed that. Let me ask you this question then. I mean, I think from the polls we're seeing, Trump is still moderately ahead in swing states. He's not as good as he was a week ago. I would call this kind of a, Pyrrhic victory he had at the debate. He says he's going to be a lot more hardcore. You're always very honest. You said this is Trump's to lose. Trump is going to be the winner. You said that 2 weeks ago. Is that still the case?
Well, it's a little early to gauge the outcome of the debate because you can't measure the speed of the wind in the eye of the storm. You have to wait until things settle down. But I addressed a political science class last night at the University of Maryland, the University of Miami, 350 students, and I spoke to a very prominent Democratic pollster who I respect prior to this, and he told me that new surveys that he has seen show Trump surging among Hispanics, now at about 35% in key states. I would remind you, Mitt Romney topped out at 29. This is why they're so panicky. Trump was on the move. Remains to be seen what the result was of last night or Monday night's debate. That said, I don't expect a seismic change. You might have a small incremental change, but anybody who thinks this race is over or that Trump doesn't have adequate opportunities to gain ground doesn't understand American politics.
Let's talk about our October surprises. We do have one that's going to be an October surprise. We're going to go ahead and release it in October. And that's what's got them freaked out, is that we're not with WikiLeaks. We're checking facts with WikiLeaks if we're able to. But that's coming out in the next few days. We ought to just release it now. It is dangerous. It's not that big a deal. It's actually confirmed and known, but it just brings it back up. What are some of the other October surprises we've got cooking? I mean, not specifically, but why they should be worried. And what do you think they may do? Clearly, quadrupling down with race riots, tripling down with division, George Soros, Ford Foundation, hundreds of millions, to take every unfortunate event and hype it up. What are some of their other surprises? Wars. I know they've had articles in CNN and others going, oh, Trump thinks he's going to win. There's something big about to happen that'll really shake him and Hillary. What's the inside baseball, Roger Stone?
I think that there's an orchestrated attack today by this Hispanic former Miss Universe that appears to me largely to be disinformation. Hillary put her thumbprints all over this in the debate. You could see that Trump was kind of taken by surprise. I think that's because the entire thing is fictional. My major concern...
Well, let me just say, I like her at 160 instead of 110. I like her juicy.
Yeah, well, I'm the same way because, baby got back. But just the same, my major concern continues to be the rigging of this election, and therefore we are very shortly at Stop the Steal going to unveil a very detailed exit poll program for which we have already signed up thousands of volunteers, and we need more. But we have working with political scientists and mathematicians come up with an exit poll program that will allow us to immediately gauge whether there has been vote rigging and reveal it on Infowars.com so the world will know, giving Trump the basis on which to challenge the election's results if, in fact, he's been cheated. Now, that cannot be done without hard evidence, but I think if it happens, the hard evidence will be had.
Sure. Well, we've got, as you just mentioned, the former poster child, or current poster child, is a porn star who admitted that she was the getaway driver for a bank robbery. So this lady's running around when she was Miss Universe. She gained a bunch of weight, wasn't doing her job. Trump wanted to renege on paying her because she wasn't doing her job. He says she's become a little piggy. She eats too much. Well, I mean, that's the case. Big deal if you got a model that's supposed to be doing work for you and she gains a bunch of weight and then Trump gets out of the contract calling her Mrs. Piggy. I mean, big deal. I mean, Hillary has Muslims chopping women's genitals off.
Well, I guess my question is that less objectionable to the fact that Bill Clinton raped and bit Juanita Broaddrick and then Hillary threatened Juanita to her face, squeezed her hand so hard it hurt, and essentially told her to keep her mouth shut? So, and I think there are similar stories by Kathleen Willey, whose home is broken into, whose children are threatened,
absolutely. Roger Stone.
Killed, whose car car is vandalized, or Paula Jones, who got an $850,000 civil settlement payment from the Clintons after which he was suspended from the practice of law? Is any of the allegations about Trump and Miss Universe more serious than those transgressions? I don't think so.
Well, we need to get more comfortable in this country to sit there and joke around and do things like this. And it's this one-sided playing field where it's like we're in junior high. Oh, he called somebody, you know, a little piggy, or they're eating too much like a pig because they've gained 50 pounds. You know, he's like, hey, you gained a bunch of weight. You're not out there doing a job for Miss Universe.
But let's be candid about what's happened. Everything that the Clintons do, everything is carefully polled and focus grouped and round tabled. So this whole attack on Trump is aimed at a specific cohort of women within the voters, and it may test well. But
this is gained at making women that are overweight mad.
But it will not test as well as Juanita Broaddrick when she goes public, because she's imminently more believable than Hillary Clinton, or Paula Jones, or Kathleen Willey, or Sandra Allen James, or Liz Ward Grayson, or Eileen Wellstone, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Who's an abuser of women? Not Donald Trump, Hillary and Bill Clinton. That's who.
Well, I want to invite this lady in studio. We'll fly her here. We want to get her here in studio just to discuss how evil Trump is.
I think you'll get them all, Alex. I think they're all anxious to talk. I think they were waiting till October. And I believe Saturday's October 1st.
Well, let's have the victims of this all on, and then have this porn star lady on and ask her, you know, was him calling you a little piggy, saying you're eating a little too much, is why you got out of your contract? And, you know, I mean, obviously, if you're in a contract to be skinny and wearing a bathing suit, and you go gain 50, 60 pounds, you know, Trump got out of the contract. So that, I mean, I loved how they were sitting there bitching going, there was an architect that Trump said violated a contract, and he's here tonight. He didn't get paid full price for a clubhouse. Meanwhile, this woman has wrecked countries, killed hundreds of thousands of Christians, cattle futures, scams, murders, death, been part of Obamacare, Benghazi, all these other crimes. The Glass-Steagall Act they got rid of, the banking crisis. Well, she's one of the big authors, and then she's blaming him over a clubhouse when this woman, Trump should have said, I'm bad. You only gave 5.7% of the money for Haitian refugees to charity. You kept 90+%, you pig. Sorry.
Yeah, no, Black Lives Matter unless, of course, you live in Haiti or Libya. But I guess if FBI Director Comey and his bureau aren't too busy investigating me, they might want to look into why Hillary took $10 million from Ukrainian billionaire Viktor Pinchuk and then approved Pinchuk's goons driving the democratically elected president of Ukraine, whose election we recognized as a country, out of office at gunpoint. Not in an election, not by impeachment, but at gunpoint.
And let's go further. Let's go further. We have this administration involved with the Saudi Arabians and all the corruption they're involved. It just goes on and on.
Well, here's how I would wrap this up, Alex. You said correctly, if they're elected, they're coming after us. Well, let me say this. If they're elected, we're coming after them. This fight doesn't end on November 3rd unless Donald Trump is elected, and then, frankly, he can clean up the mess that they have created.
Well, let's take Ukraine. I mean, and then we'll close. The son of the vice president, as soon as they overthrew the country, took over the multi-billion-dollar a month, worth tens of billions a year, gas company that the Russian gas passes through and began grabbing hundreds of millions for himself on record. Why is it the FBI investigating the vice president giving his son the contract over the stolen gas? I mean, these people, the Clintons stole George Washington's China. Okay, they are the lowest white trash filth you can imagine.
That's why I say lock her up. To be continued.
All right, Roger Stone, both the Bill Clinton rape shirt and Hillary for Prison shirts, both limited editions, are available at InfoWarsStore.com. Roger, we'll talk to you soon.
The Alex Jones Show, because there is a war on for your mind.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and say, see, I told you so, that communist Chinese-style net censorship was coming to the web, because it's already here. It's being announced. The way you keep the internet open and free is you get involved more than ever. You don't let them break your will. Go to Infowars.com/app and download an app that cost us over $200,000 and took us over a year to develop, that we're going to be expanding on the next few months with free video and audio and podcast feeds and breaking news and alerts and so much more. Don't sit by and let the internet and free speech be stolen from you. Take action.